What's up, guys? My name is Veronica, also known as Coach V, and I am your host for the Oversharing podcast with Live the Dream Media. What's up, guys? Welcome back to our first episode of 2025 of the Oversharing podcast. Happy New Year. I hope you guys had a fantastic time with your family over the holidays. I know I needed it. Don't mind my voice. I'm just getting over whatever viral bug everybody does have. It was a rough 2 days. I will say lots of stuff going on up here, but I'm super excited to be back, feeling much better and starting off the new year with a bang. We have an amazing guest on today. We're going to cut to a quick sponsorship break and we will be right back to give her the intro she deserves.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair. My drains were clogged. I was really in despair. So I called some guy. You've never seen such a mess. And every time he leaned over, well, you can probably guess. Now I get it done right by Picture Rocks Cooling. They're neat and clean, peachy keen. Really no fooling. Got a problem? Just call up and help is coming. Picture Rocks Cooling, heating and plumbing.
Hi, I'm Alan Murdoch. For the past 20 years, I've been buying, fixing, and selling properties right here in Southern Arizona. And I want to buy your property. Whether it's a house, apartment, commercial building, or vacant land, regardless of the condition or the situation, I want to talk to you. When you sell to me, I pay cash and it's hassle-free. No repairs, no closing costs, and no commissions. If you have a property you don't want to deal with and you want a quick solution, call, text, or visit selltoalan.com. Again, that's selltoalan.com.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with a tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, CopperCreekCookies.net.
We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, CopperCreekCookies.net.
All right, guys, we are starting 2025 with a quite literal bang. I am so excited to have our next guest on. I'm low-key fangirling, but I haven't let her know that yet. She is a nationwide firearms trainer that serves Tucson and the surrounding areas. She has helped women like you and me get comfortable with guns, family emergency plans, and has educated thousands of followers on things like gun laws, conceal and carry, and so much more. She is an advocate for the Second Amendment rights, a social media personality with a strong passion for empowering people, more specifically women. She resonates with a diverse audience and breaks down everything we need to know about guns and, most importantly, safety. Please welcome to the Oversharing podcast, Paige Roux.
Hi.
I did it right.
You did say it right. We practiced.
Yes, we did. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, of course.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. Caffeine has not kicked in, apparently.
There for a second, I was like, what is she going to tell me that we can't talk about? But when you said, no, the caffeine just hasn't kicked in yet.
Yeah. No, I don't care.
What's
I'll share
your
whatever.
caffeine option to go to?
So right now, I used to be just like a black coffee girl.
Yeah.
And the reason why was because I was a bougie coffee drinker for a long time, but like staying at hotels and stuff, I would always get like super disappointed when they didn't have my specific type of coffee.
You're like,
And I was like, if I drink black coffee, I'm never going to be disappointed.
It's just going to be black and bitter.
Yeah. So I do that, but I do a little bit of like oat creamer now.
I had like not an awakening, but you know, it's the beginning of the year and we become a little bit more frugal and like what we don't. Dude, I spend so much money on coffee.
Really?
Yeah, because we work at the gym and then like at 7 a.m. everyone's like, is anyone going to make a coffee run? And then everyone's like,
fair.
yeah, sure. So, I mean, it's a lot of money. Dutch Bros is expensive.
Yeah. So, and Dutch Bros gives me anxiety. I'm like a secret introvert.
Yeah.
And so just being, I mean, you probably know too, like being out on camera all the time. And then it's just like, I just like shut down. So I kind of like made a cute little coffee area at my house, but I mostly work from home unless I'm teaching.
Yeah.
And so I got the new, what's it called? It's like the thermal cup. Like
I
the
haven't
coffee
seen
cup,
that one.
because it takes me like 2 hours
to drink your
one
coffee.
cup of coffee,
And then you have to put it in the microwave every 30 minutes.
I'm just like getting cancer. And so this heated coffee cup, it's like I don't know, it like has a little charging port, and then you can
now I know what you're talking about.
and it stays warm for 2 hours.
You're
And
like,
it's
I can drink this at the comfort of my own
lovely.
pace.
So good. So
Love
yeah, no,
that.
I actually prefer at home coffee now.
Yeah. I feel like there's something special about waking up not in a rush and being able to sit on the couch with your coffee.
I do it
It's
every
like
day.
a safe space.
I have to.
I love that. Self-employment for you, girlfriend.
I do that, and I read 10 pages.
Of whatever.
Yeah.
What are you reading right now?
It's called Eat the Frog. I did this like New Year's resolution thing, right? Because I was reading Harry Potter because I love Harry Potter, but I actually like I'm not a good reader. I read
I'm the
very
worst,
slow,
dude.
and I'm like tongue tied, so I like skip over my words a lot and trip over them. So I'm like, I am going to practice reading. And so with my coffee, my husband's one that's like, he wakes up and he's just like doing like Tigger right outside the gate.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need coffee. He just goes. And I'm
And you
like,
take time.
I need to like slow down.
Slow the roll.
And we both work from home. So
Yeah.
we're both at different paces. He's like, honey, why haven't you like finished 10 things before? Or 10 things
Like,
yet.
because I'm taking my time.
I haven't had my coffee yet.
That's good. It means that your cortisol levels are going to be nice and balanced out because you're taking everything nice and slow.
Yeah.
I am a terrible reader too, but I found that when I find a book that I like, once it's getting like really juicy, I start reading really, really fast because I want to know what happens next.
Or like you just, I did that like finishing the book. I'm like, I just got to finish.
Yeah,
There's
I
like
just got it
50,
done.
100 pages left. I'm
I
like,
gotta finish. Have you read the Twisted series?
no.
Do you like a sex romance, or are you more like, I don't know? That's like the only stuff that gets me. I
So-
swear, everything else I'm like, this is boring.
So I'm not that. I guess I'm like a nerdy book reader.
Okay.
So I really I'm like a Harry Potter fanatic.
Yeah.
But I've only watched the movies. And so, but I have like trivia games, and I'm like, who wants to come over and play Harry Potter trivia
With
we have,
me?
We have Legos, like we do all that. And so I started reading the books because I was like, I can't be a true fan and not read the books.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and then I'll do like some like in the mornings I'll do reading or like self-help like work related books, and then in the evenings I really enjoy like World War II Holocaust storyline fiction.
You're like every
books.
guy's wet dream.
It's very odd. I don't like.
You're like, that is my Roman Empire.
Yeah, I know.
And guns.
I don't like nonfiction. I don't like the like in 1945
Yeah.
this happened. I'm like, I don't want to know that. But the storyline of it, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I just
Like, I
love
love
it.
that.
Yeah. I did audiobook 50 Shades because I was like, I
can't audiobook.
well, I drive so much because I drive to Phoenix.
Yeah.
So I can knock out audiobooks like
Yeah.
all the time. But I
don't know what it is.
I felt embarrassed by like holding the book or like buying
You're
the
like-
book.
You like put another book on top of it?
Yeah. So I audiobooked 50 Shades, and I was just like, meh. Like the sexy like stuff like that.
No.
is
Like if
whatever.
I'm comparing 50 Shades to like the other stuff that I've read, I feel like Colleen Hoover's good, but she's very like teenage dream. And I'm like, I'm not a teenager anymore.
Yeah.
I'm 30.
Yeah.
I want someone to bend me over in the elevator.
Yeah.
Like,
That's like 50 Shades, I feel like.
kind of, but the storyline's way different.
Okay.
Some of it is very similar, but I feel like certain authors can like do it in a way it's not so like, I don't know, dude. The Twisted series is good.
All
I
right.
liked it. I gotta
All right.
have a book specialist come on here so we can talk about how to pick something that you're gonna read.
I would love that.
Yeah. I'll
Like
do
almost
that.
like an interior designer, but like
But for books.
What book is meant for you?
There's a girl in Tucson that I don't know what her like the exact story, but I followed her on Instagram. She reads a gazillion books. Like, I should get her to come on to
Yeah.
be a good conversation.
Yeah. I just
Anyway,
don't
how
know.
do we get here?
I don't know. Hi.
Thank you so much
I
for
shoot
coming.
guns.
I shoot guns. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We talked a little bit about easing into this topic because we know it's touchy for some people.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't seem like you're afraid to have a conversation, and neither am I. So I think this is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about yourself. Where are you from? How did you get into this line of work? The whole shindig.
I'm gonna try to like
My heat and air.
Whoa. What happened? Thanks, guys.
you can
Go ahead.
You can ask me questions based on it. So I'm from Phoenix. So I was born and raised in like Northwest Phoenix.
Okay.
I recently moved to Tucson probably a couple of years ago. My husband lives here, and he has a son. So I knew I'd be the one to move. But we live in kind of North Tucson, and I absolutely love it. But I was born and raised in Phoenix, and my family owns 3 indoor shooting ranges called Shooters World. And I basically, like, to sum up my childhood, imagine it being like on the weekends you go work at your family restaurant or like after school. Mine was just a shooting range.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
It was just my life. And my dad, like, I was in dance, gymnastics, cheer, but on the weekends, I would go shoot guns, or like I would do training classes with my dad. And my dad was law enforcement. He was military as well. And so, but he never like pushed me or my brother to take on the family business, or I don't think he ever thought that I would turn into this. I would be the one to be in the family business. And so I just don't think he tried.
Yeah.
But I really did enjoy it. And I just knew it was like always part of me. And so I actually, like, college came around. I was like, I should probably go to college, right? Like, I'm not going to like stay at my family's range and just like wait for them to retire.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And so I went to college. I went to NAU for a semester, hated it. And then I moved to ASU. But I'm not like, I am addicted to work. And so I did not stay on campus. I actually specifically went to the downtown ASU campus because I didn't want to be part of like the
party
college
scene.
I was like, I don't resonate with any of these people.
Yeah.
But it's because I literally grew up in a firing range where like these grown ass adults are like, I'm working with grown adults.
Yeah.
It's not like a different type of job that's like a little bit more low key. Like, I'm handling firearms and like federal licensing, right? So like I have to have a level of responsibility.
And there's a seriousness to that compared to what probably I was doing at 21. Like,
totally.
I was literally showing up. I was closing the salon, getting ready at the salon, going to the Maverick, waking up, enough time to shower, and then make it back to work in the morning. Like, that was the responsibility.
I can't do that. If I'm working on a range, like, you try to go to an indoor range, like the gunshot sounds and everything, and you're hung over, dude. I've done it like one time, and I was like, never again. And so, you have to be on your game. And so I went to the downtown campus, and I actually went to school. I was, at this time, I stepped away from the range, and I was working for a really like prestigious hotel in Scottsdale, and I wanted to be a wedding planner.
Oh.
So I went to school for hospitality management and then tourism, but then I got my event planning certificate, and I was in my senior year when 2020 hit. And so I was like,
there's no weddings here.
No weddings in 2020. And so I was dancing around. Like, I was still teaching at the store, because once you turn 21, you can be an NRA certified instructor. So NRA is like a Second Amendment organization, and it's the National Rifle Association. And so there's only specific ways to get qualified to be an instructor. So I got qualified, and then I was teaching the women's classes at my family store. And I was just doing that like once a month just for fun, teaching women's classes. 2020 happened, and my parents were like, all these women are buying guns, and we don't have any women besides you to teach. And I was like, okay. So I took a break.
Sign me up.
Yeah. I took a break from college because I was like, I'm not going to do like all the stuff going on at college right now, like just all the nonsense, right? In 2020. And so I took a break, and I took a break from working at the hotel, and I
never went back
teaching full time, and 5 years later, and I've got a social media following, and I was like, oh,
this went quick.
This 0 to 100.
I feel like we have like a lot of similarities. And so I did gymnastics and cheer growing up, and then a lot of people don't know this about my family. Well, some people do, but my brothers and my dad have always been in like the Western lifestyle. Like they team rope. We had horses growing up. So I was very comfortable around that lifestyle. So now when I like dress up, people are like, oh, she just has a really, and I'm like, no, this is like, this kind of part of me. Yeah. Like, and I don't think it'll ever go away. But the one thing I don't have in common with you that is a surprise. Like I have clients, and this morning I was telling her, I was like, I think it's time for me to get a gun. And she was like, I'm surprised you don't. And I was like, it's been a thing in my head for like 2 years. Like, I love the idea of firearms, tactical training. When I watch videos, I'm like, that is the coolest shit ever. And that's kind of how I ran into you, because I do know Jill Matthews. We talked a little about where you had your wedding. But I randomly follow like accounts that do like tactical training. And in the same, like, you don't know what you don't know. I had no idea that you lived in Tucson, which, by the way, I also love Tucson. But you came up on my discovery page, like on my reels. And I was like, who is this chick? She's some chick that shoots. So,
Exactly.
And I started seeing like all your like your get readies with me, like where how you conceal and carry, like how you do different things. And I feel like that was like the biggest thing that caught me too. I was like, she has like such an amazing personality. No one would like, if I saw you on the street, I would never even imagine. I don't take that the wrong way, that you are such a fucking badass.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that's pretty cool. But I have so many questions.
Yeah.
First of all, how did you make it down to Tucson? So were you dating long distance with your husband for a while, or?
Yeah, so he's actually part of the industry also. So he works for a manufacturer, and so we've actually known each other. He's kind of like alcohol sales, but he has but for firearms, right?
Okay, cool.
And so he works with commercial sales or commercial dealers, so gun stores like my family's.
Yeah.
In a certain territory, and Arizona is part of his territory, and so I've known him for 8-9 years now. But because of the industry and there's not a lot of women, and I knew I was pretty and I knew I liked fashion.
Yeah.
And so working in this industry, you can easily get targeted, as someone who's, they call them a gun bunny.
Yeah.
Right.
Like in rodeo, they call them buckle bunnies.
Buckle bunnies, 100%. And so I was like, no, like I am a professional in this industry.
I'll fuck you up.
And I was like, I'm gonna make damn sure that you know that I'm a professional in this industry, and I will not get a bad rap. So there were times Dustin would like message me on Instagram. He's like, hey, I'm your rep. I'd like to set a meeting. And I would be like, email me. I'm not doing this Instagram shit.
Yeah.
And so we would do that, and he would come in for meetings, and I wasn't even needed for the meeting, right? And so he would come in, and I'd be like, hi, I'm Paige Roux. I remember the day I met my husband.
Yeah.
And I came in, I shook his hand. I said, you need to talk to my dad, my stepmom, and our buyer. And then I walked away. I didn't even say bye. I literally went, and I walked away. And that was the first time. And then SHOT Show SHOT Show is the largest gun industry show in the world. It's actually coming up in a couple weeks.
That's awesome.
And it's in Vegas. It's 5 days. It's wild. But I was going to SHOT Show, and same thing. He was like, hey, I'd like to grab a drink with you. I'd like to talk to you about something.
Email me.
Work related. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get a drink with you. It's not happening.
Yeah.
I know horror stories of SHOT Show and like women at SHOT Show and
like the NFR.
Not happening. Yeah.
There's so many
right?
Yeah.
Industries are interchangeable. And I was like, no, bro.
Yeah.
And so we talk about it now. And I was like, I didn't even really find you attractive. And he goes, I didn't either. He's like, I didn't think you were, I literally wanted to have a meeting with you.
Yeah.
And so now that I know him and like how personable he is, I took that as flirting.
Yeah.
I was just walls up, and he's like, you weren't a very nice person. I was like, I'd rather be like that and apologize than be too flirty and get a bad rap.
It's like the same thing of like women in male dominated fields. Like you have to protect, like we hear this all the time with like women that work for the police force. Those same girls are going to tell you don't date a cop. Mm-hmm. Like in the industry that you're in, you had to make sure that people knew that you were the badass person that you are, that you were going to stick to whatever your standards were, and that you're providing professionalism.
100%.
And I think that can easily be turned into like, oh, she's such a bitch. But no, like this is what you've caused. Like you're saying she's a gun bunny. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to create your own, I don't know, like your own pillar.
And so and being in a male dominated industry, I learned very quickly, because I try to do the mean thing, right? I try to be the badass bitch.
Yeah.
But what I didn't, that's an aggressive B. But what I didn't like was my audience is women.
Yeah.
And I want to be approachable, and that's not approachable to a woman.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I have to dance this fine line, and how do I do that? And so I learned very quickly, because I also didn't like, I've worked with other women in the industry who try to, in their introduction to you, they have to lay out their qualifications. I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. And I'm like, I just asked for your name.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to get to know you.
Yeah.
And I feel like women feel that way in a lot of male dominated industries. They feel like they have to prove themselves before they even, get to know that person.
Yeah.
And for me, it's working for me very well.
Yeah.
But I decided, no, I'm going to let people assume, like on Instagram, I do get ready with me videos and fashion. I don't have to explain to you. I don't have to post like what my qualifications are, right? Like I train law enforcement. Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
Because that's not my target audience.
Yeah.
I don't care if you know that or not. I want you specifically to feel comfortable with me.
1000%.
And so I learned that very quickly. And then I'm like, I'm going to show you that I'm a badass. I don't need to tell you.
Yeah.
And that's how I basically
I love that.
that's how I do my business.
It makes sense because that's how, again, like the gravitational pull of your audience is that. Like when I showed a video of you this morning to one of my clients, because I trained clients before I came here, she was like, oh my gosh, she looks so sweet. She's so funny. And I was like, yeah, she's a normal human being, but she's still a badass. Like, and you didn't have to tell me. Like, I was just like, that's fucking cool. Like what she does and the message behind what she does is amazing.
Yeah. And that was my thing. I was like, I can't expect a female who is.
It's okay.
I can't expect a female who is intimidated by firearms, right? And so many women are. So many people are. I can't expect me to be intimidating and then expect to get business or to expect to get eyes from you.
Yeah.
We're
gonna cut to a quick break, but we'll come back and talk about Instagram. We'll be right back. All right, guys, you guys know that I have been gluten-free for a few years now. It was a hard transition at first, but that all changed when I met the owners of Gourmet Girls. They are amazing. They are located on North Oracle Road. They have a full gluten-free menu as well as an amazing bakery. I love their biscuits and gravy, and if you have a little bit of a sweet tooth, you gotta go in and check out their gluten-free cupcakes. Mine is definitely, my go-to is the carrot cake. And Ernie knows that when it comes to holidays and birthdays, he's got to go over there and get myself a sweet treat. They've got sourdough, pizza dough, gluten-free almond flour tortillas. They've got everything and anything that you need if you are gluten-free. They are amazing and locally owned here in Tucson. Make sure you give them a visit. Again, they are at 5845 North Oracle Road. Tell them Veronica from the Oversharing Podcast send them so they know that we send you guys. So thank you so much, Gourmet Girls, for being a sponsor on the Oversharing Podcast. It's the new year, and the team at Pursuit Fitness is ready to help you reach all your health and wellness goals. With over 14 in-house personal trainers, as well as an in-house PT, an amazing top-notch facility, and modern equipment, you can be sure that you'll find a trainer that is a perfect match for you. We cannot wait to work alongside you in helping you reach your fitness goals this year. You can find Pursuit Fitness on Instagram at Pursuit Fitness AZ, or call them directly and visit their website at pursuitfitnessaz.com. This episode of the Oversharing Podcast is brought to you by About Me Hair Studio. With 2 amazing locations in Central and East Tucson, the About Me team is ready to style and serve you. Whether you need a new cut, color, or style, the amazing team at About Me is ready to make this experience all about you. Mention Podcast 10 and get 10% off your first service. I'm really excited to tell you guys all about Golden Roofing AZ. It is the perfect time to get your free roof inspections through the winter so you're not caught scrambling through the dreaded monsoon season. Golden Roofing offers services on any type of roof, tile, shingles, flat, and metal. Make sure you let them know you heard about them on the Oversharing Podcast to receive 10% off your repairs. You can find them on Instagram at Golden Roof AZ. All right, guys, we're back. So we just left off on like what was this, like the boom of Instagram, because that's probably where your biggest following. Are you on TikTok?
No, I get banned from TikTok. And I can't do all the things, you guys. I have a Facebook, but it links with my Instagram. And other than
it
that,
makes it easier that way.
I don't do X. I have an X, but I'm like
it's a lot of work. I almost feel like you have to pick like your cream of crop and just roll with that one. You
Instagram,
know?
Facebook, Meta, basically.
Yeah. So what was like the first viral video?
Oh gosh. So I've had my Instagram for 6 years. I don't even know my first viral video. I didn't really go viral. I just kind of grew.
Yeah.
I would say it was cool. It took me a year because I started my Instagram when reels were not a thing, right? Like
when we were just posting.
You have to go back to that.
Yeah.
And so I would do side-by-side photos of my outfit and then me like lifting and showing, and how I was carrying. But I always made sure that it was very modest. Like I'm actually a pretty modest dresser because I don't like showing my body.
Yeah.
And so I would do that and it would grow and grow. And I hit 10,000 in a year, which is very slow now. Like that's slow growth.
People just grow overnight now.
I know.
Over this, like, I'm not saying what you're doing is silly, but people grow over the silliest things. They make like one freaking reel and then it just like blows up and then literally like 200,000 overnight. You're like, what
fantastic.
the hell?
I would say I've hit plateaus a lot and I was trying to kind of like refine my voice. And I did, 2023 was a rough year for me. I just like, 2023 or 2022. I was getting sponsored by too many people. And so my page just kind of lost its voice.
Yeah.
And I saw that. And so I I kind of did like all right, what am I doing here, right? And that was the beginning of last year. And so I started going back to Get Ready With Me. And that's actually end of 2023 was the first Get Ready With Me videos, because I was like, all these girls are doing cute Get Ready With Me videos.
You're like, I can do that.
I can do it with guns. So I was the first one to do it with a firearm, right? But I saw all the Instagram and what was trending was these Get Ready With Me videos. And I was like, well, I can do that. I like fashion. My closet's filled with clothes.
Yeah.
And so I started doing that. And then I was like, oh, and then I can write off all my clothes. That's a good idea.
It's a tax write-off.
And so I started doing that, and my first one it got a couple 100,000 views, and I was like, that was better than what any of my accounts or what any of my reels have been doing, right? And I was like, that's great. I'm going to continue to do that. It's easy.
It's easy.
It's in my house.
And you enjoy it.
I really enjoy it. And so I would do that, and I started doing that, growing, and then I started really getting back into like the education. So my brand manager and my assistant are both my target audience. They're both moms who have very little experience with firearms or have never shot before until I started training them. And so they're my target audience. So it's been fun, and I think that has helped my growth quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I would say my most viral, because I have videos that have done better, but I would say the series that I did that's viral, and it's actually pinned on my reel. So if you go to my reels,
top 3.
the 3 pinned ones, I did a car video, and I basically, my best friend was over, and I was like, I want to do this thing, and we were watching like Netflix, and I said, just quiet it down. I'm going to run in my room real quick, and I'm going to film this video real quick. And so I did it. I'm sitting in my bedroom, right? And I explained firearms as shopping for cars, right?
Okay.
How to get a firearm, how do you know what firearm is right for you? And I explain it like cars. And I do this in my classes. And I say, all right, are you a mom? Do you need an SUV? Do you need a car? What size of vehicle do you want? What kind of gas? What kind of ammo?
Yeah.
And so I did these car videos, but on Instagram, you can't say firearm related words.
So I think I saw this one.
I held up signs.
Yeah,
so I'm talking about cars, and I'm like, what kind? Do you need 3 rows? And I'm like, the synonym, right? Yeah. I'm like, what do you need a Toyota? But I would hold up a gun brand, but it's literally me writing it on a piece of paper. And I would like throw these papers, and I had them, and it took me like 20 minutes to make real quick. I edited it and I posted it, and it went viral. Yeah. So I gained probably 70,000 followers just from that series. Video. I would say that is where like a lot of people did find me.
Yeah.
Just because I can explain things in a way that is easy to understand for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And again, that's like what draws people to you, is that you're a human, but you're like, I want you to understand exactly what it is that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When it comes to firearms and guns, what is the biggest misconception? And we can talk about like in general, or we can talk about women and misconceptions with firearms.
I would say for women specifically, if someone tells you that you need a small gun or you need a revolver, like unfriend them for sure. It makes me cringe.
Yeah.
So there's a common misconception that the smaller the gun, the less kick, or like the less powerful, right? Easier to control. And it's actually false. The smaller the gun, right, you still have the type of ammunition, right? The bullet.
Yeah.
The ammunition is inside of it, but if you have a smaller firearm, the same explosion is happening in that small firearm than a large firearm, but that small firearm is lighter. It's shorter, so it has less room for travel.
Yeah.
Right? And so that thing is just going to be snappy as all get out.
Yeah.
And so a lot of women will purchase a smaller firearm because someone told them to, but then it's actually harder to control because your grip is a lot smaller. So you can't get a good grip on that and good control of the firearm. Where a larger firearm maybe is a little bit more intimidating. It looks scarier, right? It's like big.
Yeah.
But it's heavier. The grip is larger and you can have way more control over it.
Yeah.
So with a firearm, you kind of have to like get that Goldilocks, that happy medium of what feels right for you. But that's a common misconception. And then also a revolver. Revolvers are like the Western style guns with like a cylinder, right?
Yeah.
And those actually are awful to shoot.
Those are heavy, dude.
They're not enjoyable.
I feel like they're like, my brother has guns and he has a revolver and he has other guns. I don't know the technical terms to all of them, but what I remember is like the revolver's fucking heavy.
Yeah.
I'm like, that does not seem like it would be easier.
Well, and then the trigger, so the trigger, when you pull it, it's crazy heavy. It's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then it has the same amount of kick as with that small gun that I was just talking about. So I'm like, who in their right mind? And a lot of, and I'm sorry, not all gentlemen, but a lot of gentlemen will say it's easier to understand. It's got like less less things to worry about, less buttons. And
Well,
I'm
it
like,
doesn't really matter because if you've got Paige, you'll understand everything you need.
and I'm like, dude, I can understand the same amount of buttons you can.
Yeah.
I just learn it a little differently. I need a little bit more practice.
Yeah.
But hop off. So annoying.
I know.
So yeah.
I love that. So when you're talking about like what is best, like say for like a woman in general, when you have these classes, I'm assuming like you're going through all of that, or are you narrowing down specifically to someone? Because we talked about how you could also help people that don't have a gun, and like we talked about home security and all that stuff, and that's in some of the stuff that I want to talk about. But when someone books a session with you, like what do they what should they expect?
So I do classes and I do private lessons. I mostly do classes here in Tucson at Pima Pistol Club.
Okay.
And I love it. We do it there, and then I also do private lessons at Pima Pistol Club, and then also in Phoenix. Most of my clients for private lessons are Phoenix, but a lot of women prefer private lessons because it's one-on-one. It's more expensive, but the class setting I love because you're with a group of women, so it's all women. I don't train men in a class setting. It's just women for it. But I start everyone from the ground up. So I don't care if you sign up for my class. I don't care what level you're at. I'm going to start you like a brand new shooter. And I promise you'll learn something. So my Pistol Foundations 1 class is the most popular, and it's basically women who have a gun and they're like, hey, I've shot, but my husband takes me and I don't know how to do this and this. Or women who have never shot a gun before. Normally it's half my class.
Yeah.
And if you need a firearm, I send everything out. I send an email out saying, if you need a firearm, let me know, and I provide everything. So you don't have to come with anything, right?
Yeah.
And you show up, and I promise you all of the concerns of like, I'm going to be the least knowledgeable.
Yeah.
I promise you everything's the same. Everyone is on the same page. So I actually start my classes with just like an icebreaker of what's your background, and what's your experience with firearms. So we go in and we talk. We talk. That way you get to know who's sitting next to you, right?
Yeah.
And after that, they're like, oh, we are all literally on the same page.
Yeah.
Like I've never had a class where they are too advanced or they know more than, a student knows more than another student.
Yeah.
And so that is lovely. And then I start, basically the very first thing that I always teach is obviously safety, but after safety I do, how do you check if a firearm is loaded or not, right? If a gun is sitting there, or if you're handed a firearm, how do you know if it's loaded or not? I don't care.
Can't just guess.
Right. And don't assume based on the person who handed it to you, right? If you are taking possession of a firearm, you have to know how to check if it's loaded or unloaded. And that's how a lot of fear can kind of be released, is just knowing that, right?
Yeah.
Having control of knowing what
is in your hands and what could possibly happen
and just how to safely check it. As soon as I teach women that, they're like, oh, that's
it.
all? I'm like, yeah.
I also love random thought that you have nails. Are those your nails?
Yeah, well, they're acrylic.
Yeah, I love that because I've always been like, what would I do? And like,
well, so I literally got these done yesterday.
Yeah.
And I already broke one, but I got these done yesterday, and I normally have longer nails. So if you look at my Get Ready With Me videos,
I think
I've
I've
got
seen
long
them.
nails.
Yeah.
I
You're like,
just
I
went
could do
short.
all of it.
I went short and dark for, I don't know why.
For your hair.
Yeah.
I love it. What is the biggest difference that you've noticed between like teaching a group of women and teaching somebody like people in law enforcement?
People in law enforcement have egos. I wouldn't say all of them, and I'm not saying like women in law enforcement, but I would say when I train like Garda or security, like those security trucks that grab money from businesses and stuff, like I have to certify them, and I hate it because they show up like they know everything and they actually don't pay attention to you. And so my last class that I taught, you go through a qualification. They have to be there for 8 hours or whatever. I made sure they went through the qualification. They're like, can't we just like skip through this? Normally they skip us through. And I'm like, absolutely not, because that's my reputation on the line. Yeah. But I shot the qualification with them.
And you
I
shot better.
Beat all of them. And all of them were awful. Like worse, that they should take my beginner course because they don't practice. They just qualify. A lot of law enforcement don't practice in between. Good law enforcement do. Yeah. But they qualify and they don't train with their firearm. That's up to them on their own time. But you think law enforcement, you get all this firearm training, and it's not true. Same thing with military, but they're the hardest to untrain. And so I have had clients that are amazing, but if you come to me as a client, you are already wanting to learn, right? But if you come to a qualification course, they have to be there.
Somebody send them to learn.
Oh, and I rip them to shreds.
I love that. Yeah. I would love to be a fly on the wall with you ripping somebody to shreds. What is like one of the worst experiences that you've had with like even like, I don't know if law enforcement, maybe women or like with men?
I don't know.
You're like, not too many.
No, because with my experience, like I've trained brand new shooters of classes of 25 or 30 with like a couple of assistants, but during 2020 it was wild. So I've seen awful things. Yeah, like I've almost experienced being shot. But I like, because of my training, I just go into like automatic mode of how to deflect something, right? How to deflect a fire.
Like almost being shot while you were teaching?
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay.
And that
you gotta tell me how that whole thing went.
So it was a young student, and it was when I was training. Gosh, this was not like when I was not some chick who shoots. It was when I was training under my family's range. So I don't vet those students, right? I just show up.
Yeah.
And there was about, I don't know, she was 20 or something, and I could tell she was really nervous. And she basically got hot brass in her shirt. And I could tell, so I have a process of like how knowing who needs to be helped more, so on and so forth. And I also have a process where I now in all my classes, I make sure that you are set up to fail safely because I've seen everything.
Yeah.
And so she basically got hot brass in her shirt, and I was behind her, and I'm always standing on a person's behind them, but on their left side, because with a firearm, the brass falls out of the right, and
side.
I don't want to keep getting hit in the head. So I was on the left side, and I had my hand kind of like touching her back, and then I keep my hand up like this where the firearm is, because if they turn around or something, I can quickly gain control of the firearm. And so she quickly, brass flew, but it can fall down her shirt. So it fell down her shirt. And when I train, I say, set the firearm down and then freak out. It's going to feel like a little bit of a curling iron.
Yeah, a burn.
Touching you. It's totally fine.
And that's the casing of the bullet, correct?
Yes,
okay,
correct.
Cool.
So that flies out every time you pull shoot the gun of us.
If you get real lucky, it lands right between the tatas.
Yeah, and you just got to wear like a proper shirt.
Okay.
And so it got stuck, and she didn't set the gun down. She brought the gun back, and my leg was basically, it was pointing straight into my kneecap.
Oh my gosh.
And I grabbed the gun. Her finger was still on the trigger, and at that point I'm yelling at her, right? I'm repeating, but when you're in that stressful mindset,
you're yelling.
You can't process what someone is telling you, right? You have audio exclusion. And so you're not listening to what I'm saying. So I have to repeat it. And at that point in my head, I was like, and this all happened like in a split second, but in my head, I'm like, I'm going to get shot in the kneecap. And I processed that. I'm like, that's going to fucking suck.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, well, let me back my knee up so it only goes into my foot. And so I do that. And then I'm like, okay, let me actually move the gun. And
away,
because I couldn't get her finger off the trigger because I was on the opposite side. And so I'm pushing the gun into like basically underneath our resting bench so that it'll just shoot and ricochet into the floor. So I'm like doing all of this stuff. And finally she lets go of the gun, and I just set it down. And I just sat there, and we stared at each other, and she started bawling. And I took her out, and we processed it. And I was like, you are going back into the range because you almost shot me, and we are doing this again. You are not leaving this class. You owe me another shot.
Yeah.
And she did. And she did great. She took a couple minutes. She watched some people, but I was like, you're not going to shoot unless I'm there. But I was like, that was the only time that I was like shaking as a trainer.
You're like, yeah.
I was like, that sucked. That I would say that was like the scariest.
Yeah.
After that, there's nothing that I've been thrown at that
you couldn't handle. You're like, that was probably the worst.
Yeah.
That is pretty scary. Because you do hear some stories sometimes. I think I don't know if it was a few years ago, but I can't remember how long it was. It was like a range here in Tucson and the instructor, I think he fucked up, but he was like on the side of him instead of like behind him, and the kid like lost control and like just point blank shot him like at the range.
And things like that can happen, right? So like as a firearms instructor, you actually don't need a certification to receive money for training people. You don't need it.
That's crazy.
It helps.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I have certification, but I didn't really like learn anything in the certification.
That you had already probably learned from growing up with your parents.
Correct. You have to vet your instructors just because they're an instructor, and I'm so sorry. Like I love law enforcement. I love military, but just because they have a background in that does not make them a good instructor.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry. Someone's going to be offended by that. It's
okay.
going to happen all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, my dad was military and law enforcement, and he's he can teach me, but he also had to learn how to teach civilians.
Yeah.
So different. And then on top of that, women. And so you have to vet your instructors and kind of learn. But there have been classes that I've taken from military law enforcement, and I'm like cringy. And I'm like, I'm in the industry.
Yeah.
I know that you have good intentions. I know you have
You're
great
a good
qualifications.
trainer and good qualifications. It's not quite there.
But I'm like, I think in the mind of my students, my female students, I'm like, it's cringy. And so, you have to vet your instructors. Yeah. Stuff like that, like
it can happen. When it comes to, let's kind of transition. Okay. We're running out of time, girl. We're just rolling.
Have like a part 2.
What is like the most important thing to educate ourselves when it comes to gun safety? We can go a little bit into like home security and gun safety, or like some people don't have guns. How can they better their home security? All that stuff.
So my biggest thing is I am not here to tell you to own a firearm. I'm not here to tell you to carry a firearm. I'm here to help you if you have questions and if you would like to do that, or find out if you would like to do that. I am your girl. But there are so many other options, and I don't want to fear you into carrying one. I want to empower you to carry one.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so that's really what I base my entire life around. And so I partner with USCCA, which is the United States Concealed Carry Association. They're amazing. And
You just did is it 10-step guide? I think I saw that.
Yes,
that's new.
I have a women's self-defense guide, and it's free. It's uscca.com/Paige, Paige. It's a free guide. It's like 1 or 2 pages, and it gives some statistics on women with firearms and use of self-defense. And it's just like, that is good to know. But it also talks about less lethal things other than a firearm, situational awareness, things to think about, things to arm your home with. Just if you don't know where to start, that is a good starting point, because it just is. It's just some text that you can read. It
just gives you a generalization.
5-minute read of where do I start?
Yeah.
And that's really good, I would say, to start with and see which avenue you want to go down.
Let's narrow this down a little bit more, because you and me both live in Tucson, and you live on the northwest side. I'm assuming I live a little bit more central. Okay. Not on the safest side of town. I'll be completely honest. It was like our first home purchase, our investment home. It's what we could get into, planning on moving in the future, all that jazz. But there is a lot of crime happening in Tucson that people are not talking about. And I think it's because a lot of the people that I talk to are in the Marana area, and it seems like everything is a little bit calmer down here. But when we're talking about the city of Tucson, it is a shit show.
Yeah.
So when we're speaking about the city of Tucson, give us like 3 safety tips right off the bat that you'd be like, these are those things that you need to pay attention to, especially with like human trafficking, kidnappings, all that stuff.
I would say get a camera system if you don't already have one, all around your house, even your backyard.
We have one all over our house.
You have to think about your backyard. I would say get to know your neighbors, and that's very weird for people to know, but get to know your neighbors. Yeah. And then you can start finding out which cars are normal and which cars aren't in the neighborhood. Who is normal? And there is a norm in every area, every place, every neighborhood. There is a norm. So who or what is out of the norm? Yeah. And then I would say have some sort of plan, right? I would say harden your exterior. So what I like to explain when I do like home defense guides is you need lighting around your house, because that is a deterrent. So find deterrents. Remove bushes from around your house, because they're easy hiding places. Yeah. Any type of lighting, cameras, lock your vehicles. Put your vehicles in the garage if you can. Things like that are deterrents. They want easy targets if there's break-ins, anything like that, right? Home invasions. Yeah. So we basically want to deter, detect, delay, and then defend.
One more time.
Deter. Right. So as a light, you want to deter that person. You want to,
if they're coming up to the door, the lights come on, like the security lights. They're going to be like, "Oop!"
You want something to help you detect something, which would be like security. My alarm system tells me if someone's at my front door, things like that. Yeah. That alarms you to detect. Delay is how long does it take them to get to you, right? So if they're in your house, or if they're trying to get into your house, how easy is it are your windows locked? Are they good locks? Can they kick in your door? Do you have like a longer screw to get into your door? Do you have 2 layers of your door? How hard are your doors? Yeah. Garages, things like that. That is delay. How do you delay that? And then defend is your last line of how are you going to defend yourself if you have to?
I feel like I mean, if I know you and you're telling me that you and your husband own firearms, You're like the one. If I was a robber, I'm not going into that house till we get shot.
Well, and then I have, honestly, like a deterrent would be a really big dog.
Yeah.
I have a German Shepherd. I have a German Shepherd and a Chihuahua. But
The Chihuahua will hop on the German Shepherd's back with his gun.
yeah. My German Shepherd's an absolute baby, but he has a scary bark.
Is he?
Scary. I
Yeah.
mean, he is a wussy, but he's
going to protect if he needs to.
absolutely, but he's also a deterrent. I don't
Yeah.
know if I could use him to defend.
Yeah.
But he absolutely is a deterrent. for
Yeah.
sure.
I love that. Those are, okay, you got to repeat the 4 Ds again.
You're gonna
Deter.
deter,
Deter.
detect,
Detect.
delay, and defense.
Ooh. Am I allowed to ask how many guns you guys have in your house?
Oh, that's just not a question. It's like asking someone how much money is in their bank account. We just don't.
I
Or
just
how many shoes I have.
So
I honestly,
many. I love that, though. That's pretty cool.
I don't know, but I work with a lot of guns. And
Yeah,
then
it's
like
It's
I
like
work
if you
with
ask me how many
companies.
leggings and Nike shoes do I have, I'm like, way too fucking many. It's what I
Yeah.
do for a living.
Yeah.
What is it like to train with you? So you mentioned a little bit from starting everybody from like the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
You have a few different courses. So you have like a baseline starting course, which
Yep.
is, what is it called?
Pistol Foundations.
Okay. And then one. And then
Pistol Foundations 2.
and what's the difference between 1 and 2?
So 1 is going to be you don't have to have any knowledge.
Okay.
Come. Literally
Yeah.
just show up. I promise you'll learn something, and I promise
Excuse me.
I won't skip over anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is a baseline, very beginner.
Yeah.
Foundations 2, I'm going to put a little bit more pressure on you. It's going to be a review, but I kind of want to challenge you.
Yeah.
And so we start talking about holsters, holster draw, if you want to conceal, what that looks like. And something that I do that I don't know anyone else in the industry who does is I don't require you to carry in a specific way. So like I designed a concealed carry belt bag that looks like a Lululemon bag, but it has a spot where you can
Is it the one that you have?
Yeah.
Show it to him,
so
girlfriend.
that you can conceal carry a firearm. And so this is my bag. I just came out with a larger one too for larger firearms and then men. But like I carry everything in this, but one pocket is like my admin pocket, right? Like my keys, my lip gloss, tampons, all that stuff. And then this pocket is going to be where my firearms at.
Are you allowed to show us?
Yeah, absolutely.
It does look like a cute Lululemon bag.
Yeah.
Bam, baby.
So that's
awesome.
That's my firearm, but everything's protected, everything's safe. And then when I'm shopping, I don't have to get into this pocket. It's 2 separate pockets. And then also the holster company that I partnered with has beautiful patterns. There's cow prints.
So you could put something cute on there.
100%. Yeah, look,
I love that.
my mother-in-law has like a hot pink holster. She loves it.
Yeah.
So that's also how you can kind of make it fun and less scary.
I don't have to guess and tell you carry everywhere.
Not everywhere, I would say.
Really?
No, because I don't like. Again, I don't want to rely on a firearm all the time. I don't want to be like, out of fear, I can't go anywhere because I don't have my firearm.
Yeah.
There are other tools to have, right? You need to have good situational awareness. If I'm not carrying, sometimes my husband will. We have that conversation when we go out on dates. I'm like, honey, this top
it does
ain't
not go with
working.
it. Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'll carry. And so we have one of us is carrying, or we have a plan or some sort of like self-defense tool if we can't carry. But 100% of the time I would be lying if I say I do.
Yeah. I love the situational awareness topic because that's something that can definitely coexist with like your safety. Like I always tell people this, I could be a little paranoid about like going to the grocery store. I hardly go anywhere. I always do pickup. But when I do, I am so hyper aware. And it's crazy because I'm getting older. Like I'm not target anymore. Like these kids that are 19, 20, these college girls down by the U of A, I'm like, those are your target. But it doesn't mean that I'm not looking around. I always park usually right next to the cart thing, so I can like push my cart, get in the car quick.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's a great practice.
Yeah.
Though. And parking under a light.
Yep.
Parking things like that. Choosing when you gas up, choosing when you go grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Big
like,
one.
Huge. Like you can time your day around that. You don't have to get like I make sure that I gas up. I try to at the same gas station. Or at similar, a gas station that I'm
general area
in my area. If I'm driving to and from Phoenix, I don't want to be like, crap, I need gas. So I got to find this place I'm not comfortable with. And it's like 8:30 at night. Well, now I'm making myself an easy target. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
It's just planning.
It's like things that you don't think about.
Yeah,
I mean,
planning ahead.
it's things that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah. It's like meal prepping, but your life prepping.
Yeah. I love that. Tell us a little bit about your wedding. Before I want to leave off on a more airy topic. So I do know the Matthews.
Yes.
Jill and Cameron
McKays.
and the McKays. Yeah. They're just great. They're great people. I used to train them at Psycho and then I took family pictures of them like I was telling you. But I saw your wedding pictures.
They were
So
incredible.
What was
Oh my
your
gosh.
wedding bride year experience like?
So because I have a background in wanting to
Plan
be a
wedding.
wedding planner, I planned the whole thing, but then I had an amazing team the day of. But bless Jill's heart, I literally, my stepson and then her son are on the same like baseball team and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're always, they go to the same school. And so Dustin and I went to a wedding and then a couple parties and stuff at their house. We've stayed there for hunting and stuff. And we knew, we're going to get married here.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough because you have to bring everything. I had to bring bathrooms.
Dance floor, bathroom, tent, tables,
Well, and then
chairs.
a lot of people won't deliver that far because
Yeah.
in Sonoyta, it's, wild. And
Yeah.
then my family has never knew about Sonoyta
Yeah.
because you think Tucson, Mexico.
Yeah.
And so
Not even Nogales. It's
No.
right over.
Tucson, Mexico. And so Jill said that I think the max number they've ever had there on property was 100. And I said, well, I'm inviting 200 people. Like I want 200 there. And she's like, figure it out. And it was flawless. And
Yeah.
bless her heart, she let me run with it. And so we had an event tent, but we did like black tie country.
Yeah.
And so
You guys had Harper Honey out there for the hats.
we had Harper Honey. I love her. All
Yeah.
of my vendors were absolutely incredible. We had Timothy as the photographer. We had Cameron Robbins as the videographer. We had My Vanity, who you need to have on here.
she came
Vanessa.
already.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's oh my
She
gosh,
did your
I
makeup,
love her.
right?
She did my makeup.
Yeah. So when I started following you, that was a while back. It must have been like 6-7 months back.
Yeah.
And I used to train Vanessa's sister.
Okay.
And then Vanessa came in and worked out maybe once or twice. And then she came on and it was before your wedding, I think.
Okay, yeah.
She came on and then I saw you on her page and I was like, oh my God, she did her wedding
oh
makeup.
my gosh, she is absolutely
Yeah.
incredible. And
She's
she's
so
killing it
good.
right now. So, but yeah, my vendors, we had Elizabeth Banks was absolutely it was a dream, and it was absolutely the dance floor was filled.
Yeah.
All of the vendors were they would message me separately and they're like, this is one of the best weddings we've had in a very long time.
Yeah.
Everything ran flawlessly. The
Yeah.
people, our
It's just a
wedding
vibe.
party.
Yeah.
So our bachelor and bachelorette party, Dustin actually wanted to do a joint one in Dallas. So we did the Fort Worth Stockyards.
Oh
But
my gosh.
We had, so all of our parents also are partiers.
Yeah.
They're so much fun. They all get along.
That's awesome.
Our family's amazing. And so our parents went, my stepmom,
Everybody.
all the parents went. Yeah. The wedding parties, their spouses. We had 30 people come to our bachelorette
That's
party.
amazing.
And the boys had one house, the girls had another, but it was on the same street. So
Yeah.
we would do daytime things separately, and then
And
we
then
would
all
all
go
go out
out.
at night. And it was an absolute, the
That's-
whole wedding process was so much fun.
I feel like you have to, I always tell people, you have to enjoy the process and you have to know that
Yeah.
it's going to go by so fast. You just got to dive in.
you also have to know that things are going to change.
and things are going to go wrong.
And it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Do you have any New Year's goals that you're aiming for? I know that you're going to that convention in Vegas in a couple weeks, you said.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be a public speaker there. Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about that before we wrap up.
SHOT Show is the largest gun industry show. So it's not a consumer show. You have to be part of the industry. You have to prove you're part of the industry to go. But it's the largest one in the world. People from all
That's
over
amazing.
the world go. I think there's a couple 100,000 people that go. And so I am part of the I'm one of the speakers on one of the days. And so I'll be doing that. But then I walk around and just have a ton of meetings, right?
Yeah.
So all the manufacturers, you just have, it's days and days of meetings and drinks
Information and
information.
fun
Yeah. But it's one of those, you kind of make it what you want.
Yeah.
And so lots of meetings. I'm meeting with a lot of my sponsors, potential sponsors, and trying to really work on more of, I want to apply more educations because I had a lot of fun with the Get Ready With Me's while
Yeah.
planning my wedding, but a lot of people don't know all of my qualifications, right? And I have to have that fine balance of I have all these new followers, but they think I literally just do
Get
concealed
ready with-
carry
yeah.
with me, and I'm like, no, bro, no, bro.
I got so much more under this belt.
yeah, I'm like a path paver in this industry.
What are you speaking on at the convention?
So I'm actually the Second Amendment advocate for Turning Point USA.
Okay,
and
cool,
so
cool, cool.
I go and speak to high schools and colleges about the Second Amendment, and so I work a lot with millennials and Gen Z, and kind
You're
of
busy, girl.
Oh my gosh, and talking to Gen Z about firearms and the Second Amendment and what their questions are and what their arguments are because they are in college.
Yeah.
and so they hear the other side of why guns are bad, and so I talk to them and I educate them about that, and so I basically. I am on the cusp, right? I'm 28, so I'm on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z. I'm 1 year from being a Gen Zer, so I'm technically a millennial. But on top of, I'm talking about basically the generational gap of the industry, and the industry doesn't market to the next generation, and they don't know how to, because the industry is honestly lazy in the facts of marketing. Because if there's a tragedy, if there's something involving a firearm or the media, then our gun sales go up naturally. And so if there's an election year, the gun sales go up. But the gun industry doesn't actually like get comfortable.
But also, where would they? Like,
Exactly.
because they're censored everywhere, right? You're telling me you can barely get on TikTok with yourself because you'll get censored. There's things that you can say and can't say on Instagram. So where would the gun industry
They have to innovate.
market?
They only market to people who already like
Own
guns. And that's the problem. I'm like, if you want a new audience,
You got to go look for it,
you
too.
gotta go stretch your legs out and like go get to the people who are unsure. But you can't be over here and be like, we have this brand new product, you should buy it. Oh, you're not comfortable? When you get comfortable, come buy it.
Come buy it.
It's like, no, you have to bridge that gap, and the gun industry doesn't bridge that gap right now. They just they're over here, you're over there, and they're like, someone will bring you over eventually. And that bridge
that gets me.
I'm like that.
I'm the bridge.
I'm the bridge, and there needs to be more of me because I can't do everything.
Yeah.
And I know that, but like I want to show you how to do that with millennials and Gen Z.
There was probably a time in my life where I was like not anti-gun, but more concerned about guns.
Of course.
And I remember my brother explained it to me because he has a bunch of guns. And he was like, this is the best way that I can explain it to you. He goes, we take guns away from people. Bad people still gonna get the guns.
Yeah.
Like drugs are illegal. We take drugs away from people. People still find the drugs
100%.
illegally. Like, and then
you don't
bad guy
have it.
has gun and you don't have gun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that gun makes sense.
And there's a term where it's like firearm is a woman's great equalizer, right? So if you, right, how tall are you?
5'2.5".
Okay, you're a little girl.
I'm a little tiny bean.
So you're 5'2", and then we go a 6'2" man, right?
Yeah.
Naturally, he's going to run faster. He's going to be stronger, no matter what you use as a
Scientifically,
firearm.
yeah.
Scientifically, he has an advantage over you.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't have a firearm is the only thing that you can use distance to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Right. You can use far away to protect yourself, but also it makes you just as dangerous as him, and that is. Firearm is an equalizer for women, so everyone always says gun rights are women's rights, and that's a thing. Because if firearms go away, then
What do we have?
What are you gonna do?
Like, you're not going to outrun somebody that's 6 feet tall.
We're badass women. We're not damsel in distresses.
I love that. We do have to wrap up. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I definitely want to come and do a class.
Yeah.
Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can find your free guides, where they can book with you, all that fun stuff.
Some chick who shoots. Literally, I'm just some chick who shoots. Somechick.who-shoots.com, and then uscca.com/page for that women's self-defense guide.
Love it. Thank you so much for coming. You guys know where to find me. All things.gpsoto on Instagram. It was a great first episode to kick off 2025. We'll be back next week. Bye.